Hello, I thought I would talk a little bit about the Genie Plus and Lightning lanes. I know it's very confusing for everyone who's never been, and it's a little bit different for everyone who has been, but maybe it's been a while, and the Fast Pass was there last time you were at the park. So I'm going to just go over the idea of how this is working lightly. So before, Fast Pass used to be you would pre-schedule 3 rides, and that was complimentary, just part of, being on property at Disney. So now that is gone, and everybody has the option to buy Genie Plus, which essentially works similar to how Fast Pass was. You would get 3 rides, and then once you use those, you could keep going and picking up more. So now it works where you wake up and before 7 o'clock, you can buy Genie Plus. So anytime really after midnight up until 7 o'clock, you can go ahead and buy your Genie Plus. That way at 7 o'clock, you're ready to make your first selection. So when you make your first selection, you're going to be selecting the first ride that you want to kind of block off an hour window. And then you have that hour window to show up at that attraction. So let's just say we're going to Magic Kingdom tomorrow. So anytime after midnight tonight, I can buy my Genie Plus for the morning so that I'm ready at 7. I personally just wake up at like 6:45 and I go on my app and I go under the Genie Plus selection. It prompts you to put in who all would like to buy the Genie Plus for the day, and you can select that and then pay for it so you're ready. So let's say I've done all that and I'm ready at 7 o'clock. So there's 2 things that I get to do now. The first is make a selection for Genie Plus. So I know that every family is very different, but for the most part, I'm going to suggest that if you want to do Jungle Cruise or Peter Pan's Flight, that you go ahead and select one of those first. I say that because those lines are very long, and there's only so many Genie Plus spots. Those ones will run out first before all the other attractions. So that's why I suggest picking one of those 2. If you pick it, essentially the way it works is you're going to make a selection and then say let's do Jungle Cruise, and I got the 12 to 1 o'clock window. Great. So you select it and we go from there. Now 2 hours after the park opens for everybody, so let's say it opens at 9 o'clock for everyone. So by 11 o'clock, 2 hours later, if I've not used my first Genie Plus, I can pick up another one. So even though I've not even used the Jungle Cruise, I can go on and maybe I'll try to get Peter Pan's Flight then. So then I'll go ahead and check and select Peter Pan's Flight. And I'll probably get a later time. Let's say I get a time around 5 o'clock or so. So that's fine. And I just make that for later. Essentially on your app, it's going to show you when you can select another one again. There's a little blue box and it goes across the screen and it says, next time for Genie Plus, it'll tell you the time or it will say now, which means, it's time for you to go on and book another one. So I just wanted to make that point about 2 hours after the park opens, you can pick up another one if you haven't used that, just so you're not concerned, because maybe you pick Remy, in Epcot. That's going to be what I would suggest during an Epcot day, is to pick Remy, and maybe it's not till 7 p.m. and your first thought is like, oh gosh, I don't want to wait that long to make another one. Don't worry, pick up your 7 p.m., you'll be able to make another one 2 hours after the park opens. And again, it pretty much goes that after you use one, you can pick one up, but they've also added in this every 2 hours. If you have not used one, you can pick up another one. So a different scenario is, it's Magic Kingdom Day, and I wake up and I pick Peter Pan's Flight. The park opens at 8, and I get a 9 to 10 window. Wonderful. So I'm in the park. I ride on Peter Pan. As soon as I scan into the ride and I'm on the ride, I can actually pick up my next Genie Plus. Essentially, it works that you ride it, you pick one up. You ride it, you pick one up. So that is also something to know, that if you got an early time, then great. You can go ahead and make another selection once you're on the ride. Or you can wait until you're off the ride, of course. So that's Genie Plus. Now, in addition to that, at 7 a.m., you also have that option. Would you like to buy a Seven Dwarfs Mine Train? Would you like to buy a Tron? Or would you like to try for a virtual queue for the Tron? So let me tell you the difference. When you make these selections for Genie Plus, it's going to tell you the next time it's available. When you buy the individual lightning lane for any of the ones in red, you actually get to go on, see all the different hour increment times, and pick out the one that works best for you, which is lovely. So if you have dinner reservations or, Oga's Cantina in the afternoon and at Hollywood Studios, you don't have to worry about doing it during your reservation if you can go on and just pick your hour window you want to show up. And then the other thing to talk about is for Tron and for Guardians is they also have a virtual queue. So for the virtual queue, the benefit to doing that is you don't have to pay, but you do not know when they're going to call your boarding group. So those two lines, they're projecting, it would be hours and hours long if you had to wait in that line. So they're trying to save everybody from waiting in a line that's, 4 hours long, because that definitely happened with Flight of Passage. It was 4 hours long forever. So what they're trying to do is avoid having you wait in this gigantically long line all day long. So they're saying, there's not just a standby line for those two rides. So there's just the virtual queue. So the only way you can ride on Tron and Guardians is by doing a virtual queue standby line or buying the lightning lane. So if those are something you don't want to do without, if you don't want to go home and miss those, you just have to decide if you want to try for the virtual queue or if you'd like to pay for it. Now, say you pay for Guardians, but you're like, well, gosh, what if it closes and I'm not able to ride it? They'll refund you your money. So it doesn't hurt to do that. But if you're like, there's 10 of us, we would love not to have to pay for it. You can try for the virtual queue right at 7 o'clock. I would actually do that before I made my Genie Plus selection. So say my day, let's do Magic Kingdom again. I know that there's a bunch of us and we want to do Tron and we'd love to do virtual queue. We really don't want to have to pay for it if we don't have to. So wonderful. Right at 7 o'clock, I'm going to try for the virtual spot for Tron first. And if I get it, great. But say I don't get it because it sells out in like a couple seconds. You might think you're like right on it, and oftentimes you may get it. But if you don't get it, you still have the option, okay, we didn't get the virtual queue. Do we want to try again at 1 p.m.? Because there's 2 times it opens up, 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. So you could say, oh, we didn't get that virtual queue. We'll try again at 1. Or if you're like, absolutely not, I'm not playing around with this, I just want to buy it, then you still could go ahead and buy it right then and there too. So you could go ahead and buy the lightning lane for Tron. And you'll see on the app that it's like 2 different areas. For the virtual queue has its own little area, and you would go there first. So let's say we got our virtual queue for Tron, wonderful, and then we were like, oh, if you want to do both, you can do 2 a day. So even if you're park hopping, just know that you could buy 2 of the individual lightning lanes a day. So if I wanted to buy Seven Dwarfs as well, I could go right ahead and do that. And after I buy those 2, then I could go ahead and make my first selection for Peter Pan or Jungle Cruise. So that would be a Magic Kingdom day. Animal Kingdom day, same thing. You'd buy your Genie Plus ahead of time if you're going to buy it. Flight of Passage, great ride. That was the one that I was saying used to have like hours and hours of a wait. And so that's what they're trying to avoid. So if you'd like to ride that, go ahead, buy that right at 7. You can pick your time. your hour window that you'd like to do. And then I suggest, maybe Safari, Navi River. There's not a million rides in Animal Kingdom, as you can see, but there are a lot of things that maybe are not on this list. Like you can take the Rafiki, you can go out to the Rafiki watch area and take a train out to there. There's like a petting zoo, and then there's a bunch of other things out there. So that's not on here. So just know that that does exist. So I suggest, maybe going to Navi River first if you make a selection for Safari, or maybe go to Expedition Everest first. If you go to Expedition early in the morning, you can ride it multiple times. And that's probably the tallest roller coaster in Disney World. So just know that. For Epcot, same thing, 7 a.m. If you want to try for the virtual queue for Guardians, definitely do. If not, go ahead and buy your lightning lane. Now, I will say that if you buy your lightning lane and it's for before 1 p.m., that at 1 p.m., I have also tried again for a virtual queue again to ride it twice. So just know that that's an option too. But Remy's Ratatouille is what I would highly suggest. It's half the time Frozen, half the time Remy's. Sometimes one sells out faster than the other. It's usually Remy's. Sometimes it can be Frozen. So I would say either Frozen or Remy's Ratatouille is what I would select first. And for Hollywood Studios, you've got Slinky Dog Dash that typically sells out pretty quickly. I would do that before worrying about the Rise of the Resistance. Of course, this is like maybe not at Christmas time. I would change my mind on some things, but right now for like normal times, it's 7 a.m. The very first thing I would do is go for Slinky Dog Dash. You will not get another Genie Plus later if you do not get this first one, most likely. Certain times it might be slower and available, but it's really just kind of like it's got to be your first ride right at 7:00, not even 7:05. So it's 7 o'clock. Pick Slinky Dog if you have any plans to ride that. And then go ahead and do Rise of the Resistance. Now, Rise of the Resistance, Flight of Passage, remember, they don't have any kind of a virtual line. You can wait in line for those. So the only two things that are not going to have like a standby line at all are Guardians and Tron. So all these other ones in red, you still can opt to just wait in their line if you don't want to buy them. And so... so that would always be my selection for Hollywood Studios is Slinky Dog Dash. And then, maybe go for one of the ones in blue, go to, Tower of Terror first or Mickey's Runaway Railroad. It's right there as you walk in. So those might be a good one to knock out. All of those lines are a little bit longer. So, I tried to go to one of, Tower of Terror, Mickey's Runaway Railroad, or Toy Story Mania, I think are three good options to maybe hit one of those if you're going when the park opens, maybe try to get there before the line's too long. The only other thing I want to say is for Magic Kingdom, it'll tell you that the park hours say it's open from 9 to 10 for everybody. It opens at 8:30 for guests on property. That park actually opens way before that. So if it opens at 8:30, you can be getting in like 45 minutes before that because Main Street is open. They want you to be shopping, buying coffee, grabbing breakfast, taking your pictures with the castle, all before they open up the rides. So don't feel like you cannot get there early because this is the one park that's going to be your long day. I would get there as early as possible because, Main Street's long. So once you come in the entrance, you're going to come upon Main Street and walk all the way down there. And there'll be PhotoPass photographers all lined up on there. Get some early morning pictures all before the park opens. Everybody wants their picture in front of the castle. So just walk down a little bit closer to the castle to get like a little bit bigger of a castle in your picture, and then ask for magic shots. So I just want to say that about Magic Kingdom. The other parks, they may open a little bit before, like the time says, but nothing like Magic Kingdom. They invite you to come early, and that's kind of a secret. I don't know that it's really like a known thing, like for everybody. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people know that, but it's just really nice to get there a little bit early before everybody's piling in, and to get in line for the rides, like right up by the castle. They have the roped off areas, and they'll drop the ropes whenever the rides open. So it's great to be there for that. That way you can knock out a couple rides early as well. Okay, I hope this was helpful, and of course we can go over it for your individual family, but I thought it was a good way to kind of get it out, a beginner thing to talk about it. All right, thank you.